Hello ladies and gents, and welcome back to La Historia, the show that looks at the following country and says, wait a minute, isn't this just discount Greece? But like you guys, I'm about to get slapped in the face with knowledge.
They're documented as being Christianized in 380 AD by Nicetas, the bishop of Dacia. In 570 AD, pilgrim Antoninus Placentius records that in Mount Sinai there is a monastery where the monks speak Greek, Latin, and Bessian.
Welcome to Albania, a country on the West Balkan territory in sort of the border between Eastern and Western Europe. Apparently some good and some crazy things have been said about Albanian immigrants in places like Toronto and New York. Today, we're gonna jump straight into their historical story. Welcome to Albania. The name Albania derives from the Albanoi Illyrian tribe from the ancient period. It was first mentioned by Ptolemy in 150 CE because the Albanoi were part of the old Balkan tribes, like the Dacians, Greeks, Illyrians, and Thracians. Because Albanian is spoken in the same area the ancient Illyrian language was spoken. There you go, Albanoi becomes Albania. Easy as pie. So going through the prehistoric and Paleolithic eras, archaeologists have found some cave paintings and tools made of flint and jade in certain caves near Albanian cities and towns, like they did with a lot of European nations. Archaeologists have found that those ancient Albanians spoke a Proto-Greek language in the 3rd and 2nd millenniums of BCE. And in about 1600 BCE, a lot of those moved to Crete. So I wonder if some of them joined King Agamemnon's army and went to Troy. So sticking in the last millennium BCE, the first recorded Albanians were the Illyrians, first identified by Greek and Roman scholars. Ancient Illyria basically corresponded of the area between the Adriatic Sea in the west, the Drava River in the north, the Morava River in the east, and the mouth of the Vihose River in the south. Vihose. It sounds like Albania is just calling some Spanish guy, but just putting a V before his name for no reason. Vihose! The first account of the ancient Illyrians comes from a document called the Coastal Passage by Periplus that was written in the 4th century BCE. Now, getting into some of the tribes of ancient Illyria, I'm going to go through this pretty fast. In central Albania, the Aridai, Tolanti, and the aforementioned Albanoi. Once again, Albania's namesake. We had the Partheni, Abri, and Kavi with like 4 eyes in the north, the Enkalai in the east, and in the westernmost part of Albania lived the Bridges, or Burges, an Indo-European people, and the southwestern part was a Greek colony made up of the people known as Chaonians. The tribes were pretty fragmented for most of this ancient history, except for in the 4th century BCE, when King Battalus decided to unite most of the tribes and fight Macedonia to the north, but they were defeated. Briefly mentioning some Greek colonies in the 7th century BCE, the most important were Apollonia, Aulon, Badamnos, and Lysis. Some of these colonies includes a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the lost Greek city of Uthrotum. This part was actually used by Julius Caesar to stockpile weapons and as a provisions depot, so yeah, stockpiling weapons, in the 1st century BCE. Speaking of Julius Caesar, here come everyone's favorite, marching out of the Italian peninsula, my ancestral homeland, the Romans. Albania was part of the Roman Empire. It was the province of Illyricum. Once again, relates back to the Illyrians. It was above the river Drin and Roman Macedonia, specifically known as Epirus Nova. It was later divided into the provinces of Dalmatia and Pannonia. Fast forwarding a little bit to 325 CE, just like we discussed in the last episode, a certain religion took hold of this area. Here comes Christianity. After becoming the established religion of Byzantium, this was after Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity. Christianity, like in many places, supplanted Roman, Greek-style paganism. The Durrës Amphitheater in the city of Durrës is actually a pretty important site because it was used by Christians to preach the gospel at the time. Fast forwarding a little bit to the 4th and 5th century CE, like the Romans, Albania experienced a lot of raids.
The worst thing about prison was the Dementors.
A lot of raids by the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and the Huns, and this was shortly after the Rome fell and was split into the eastern and western halves of the empire. Shortly after this, in the 6th century CE, there was an influx of Slavs, basically areas like modern-day Poland, modern-day Czechoslovakia, modern-day Bulgaria, even Russia to some extent. So yeah, Slavic peoples. Fast forwarding into the Middle Ages, in 1190 CE, we had a principality of Arbor or Arbanon, founded by the ruler Drogon in the modern-day region of Kruj. So briefly fast forwarding through the Byzantine Empire that had control of Albania. And remember, the Byzantine Empire was basically the Eastern Roman Empire resurrected to, control a lot of what Rome had in the east. The Bulgarians had their own empire that took over Albania since, they're kind of neighbors. This was weakened in the 13th century. I'm not going to touch on this empire. We will be talking about it in the Bulgaria episode. Then we had the League of Lezhi, that came after 1355 and the dissolving of the Serbian Empire. Then comes 1385 CE, and with it, the Turkish peoples known as the Ottomans. Yes, Albania gets taken over by another world-famous empire, this time the Ottomans, in 1385 after the Battle of Savra, which established the Sanjak of Albania. This included revolts by a lot of Albanians. A lot of the nobility came back to the area at the time, and since a lot of their holds were annexed by the Ottomans, they tried to get an alliance with, the words of Voltaire in Crash Course World History, the not holy, not Roman, not imperial, Holy Roman Empire. The Ottoman occupation of Albania also brought forth Albania's national hero, the Miyamoto Musashi of Albania, the Siegfried of Albania, the Scipio Africanus of Albania. We get it. Nations have heroes. Just talk about Albania's already. Grigij Kastrioti Skanderbeg. I just want to take a moment to apologize to all you Albanians for butchering your hero's first name. Mr. Skanderbeg was the son of an Albanian princely family who, like a lot of children in the Ottoman Empire, was taken away at a young age to be brought up to be a Muslim warrior. But luckily, he wasn't in the Janissary Corps because those kids got After he was sent to service in the Balkans, he all of a sudden came out as a Christian. In nomine Patri et Filio Spiritus Sancto, and decided to be a help to his people. So in between the years of 1443 and 1467 CE, so this is a period of well over 20 years, this guy fought hundreds of armies of Ottoman Turks coming to regain Albania and regain a foothold of their control. On quite a few occasions, they were armies led by sultans such as Murad and Mehmed II. So, needless to say, Skanderbeg was a pain in the ass to the Ottomans. The one historical figure I often would compare him to is Arminius. We will talk about him in the Germany episode. Unfortunately, after Skanderbeg's death in 1468, the Turks gained full, unabridged, uninterrupted control of modern-day Albania for about 400 years. And under Turkish rule, all education was in Turkish. The only way for social advancement was in the Ottoman administration or army. As a result of this, the country became 2/3 Muslim, with the rest encompassing Greek Orthodox or Roman Catholicism. Now we're going to take a huge jump in time over to 1909, when Albanian nationalism hit its peak against the Ottoman rulers, with a congress in Bitoldje. So the Albanians lobbied for control within the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman was like, no, even though we're on the decline, we're not going to give you autonomy because we're the best and we have big funny hats. This led to the First Balkan War 3 years later in 1912, where Albania eventually won its independence, only to be swept into World War and then about 20 years later be occupied by Italians. The Italian invasion into Turkey, led by everyone's favorite Il Duce Benito Mussolini. This started in April 1939, coincidentally the time that Hitler invaded Poland, and ended in November 1944 at the end of the World War II. The World War II. I just accidentally said the World War II. Gonna be a lot of funny mess-ups on La Historia. Look out for them. Then after this, a communist takeover kind of happened with the National Liberation Front, or NLF, holding a council in May 1944, and they had the anti-fascist wing of the party, so the anti-fascist group, take over Albania's government and legislature. So basically a socialist party had control of the entirety of Albania in the 1940s up until the 1960s, with the Second Republic lasting from 1945 to 1967. About 30 years later, democratization happened in the 90s, and in 1995, Albania became the 35th member of the Council of Europe and also lobbied to join NATO, with it joining the United Nations in 1955 and finally joining the European Union at the end of April 2009. So, to end things off, Albania is quite an interesting country, and as I have discovered in my research and shooting this video, one hell of a way to introduce Europe into La Historia. This is a place that has been shaped by so many different cultures, kind of like Afghanistan, from the Greeks and the Romans to the Ottomans to the Slavs, a country that's gone through paganism, Christianity, Islam. These guys have seen it all, and I am so glad I got to highlight them. And like I said, I am so glad that they were our first foray into Europe. I couldn't have asked for a better nation, to be honest. Except for maybe that one, or that one, or that one. Okay, we'll get to them. It'll happen in due time. We will see you guys in Algeria.